Kopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Privjakacharya Asto Tartata Shri Śrimad Nitya Leela Pravishna Om His Divine Grace Labhaya Charanar Vinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj ISKCON's BBD Founder Acharya Jagadguru Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada Ki Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Grantaraj Śrimad Bhāgavatam Ki Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Uddirayat Nasta Pradeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Reading from the Śrimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 32. Entanglement in Fruitive Activities. Text number 30. Etad. This is too loud, unless it has to be this loud for the sake of the audio. I'll deal with it, but otherwise it's pretty loud. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna. Good enough. Vai Sharaya Bhaktya Yogabhyasena Nityasa Samahitma Nishango Viraktya Paripasyati Etadvai Shradaya Bhaktya Yoga Bhasena Nityasa Samahitatmani Nishango Viraktya Paripasyati Etadvai Shradaya Bhaktya Yoga Basena Nityasa Samahi Tatma Nishango Viraktya Paripasyati Etadvai Shradaya Bhaktya Yoga Basyena Nityasa Samahi Tatma Nishango Viraktya Paripasyati
Etadvai Shradaya Bhaktya Yoga Vyasana Nityasha Samahitatmani Sango Viratya Paribhashyati
Ladies. Etad, this, by, certainly, Shradhaya, with faith, Bhaktya, by devotional service, Yoga Abhasyena, by practice of yoga, Nityasa, always, Samahita Atma, he whose mind is fixed, Nishanga, aloof from material association, Viraktya, by detachment, Paripasyati, understands. Translation. This perfect knowledge can be achieved by a person who is already engaged in devotional service with faith, steadiness, and full detachment. Who is always absorbed in thought of the Supreme. He is aloof from material association. Please repeat. This perfect knowledge can be achieved by a person who is already engaged in devotional service with faith, steadiness, and full detachment, and who is always absorbed in thought of the Supreme. He is aloof from material association. Purport by His Divine Grace, ISKCON's BBT, Founder Acharya, Jagadguru, Patita Pavana, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The atheistic mystic practitioner of yoga cannot understand this perfect knowledge. Only persons who engage in the practical activities of devotional service in full Krishna consciousness can become absorbed in full samadhi. It is possible for them to see and understand the actual fact of the entire cosmic manifestation and its cause. It is clearly stated here that this is not possible to understand for one who has not developed devotional service in full faith. The words samahitatma and samadhi are synonymous. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sva Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagujatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namo Stute Dibyad Brindaranya Kalpadrumada Śrimad Ratnagara Singhasana Sto Śrimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prastalabi Savyamano Smarami Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sandubhya Eva Cha Titanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prastaya Bhutale, Shri Mate, Bhakti Vedanta, Swamin Iti Namane. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at the feet of the Transcendental Lord. Namaste Sarasvati Deve, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskita Deshatarine. Obeisances unto you, O spiritual master, servant of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami. You are so kindly preaching the message of Lord Sri Chaitanya Dev and are delivering these Western countries which are filled with impersonalism and voidism. Etadvai Sharaya Bhaktya Yoga Bhasyena Nityasa Samahitatma Nishango Viraktya Paripasyati. This perfect knowledge can be achieved by a person who is already engaged in devotional service with faith, steadiness, and full detachment, and who is always absorbed in thought of the Supreme. He is aloof from material association. So Śrimad Bhāgavatam is a conglomeration or combination of many great and exalted personalities such as Narada Muni, Shukadeva Goswami, Sutta Goswami, Maitreya, etc., describing the pastimes and the truth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And within the Śrimad Bhāgavatam also is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, speaking about Himself. And when those times come, or particular chapters, they're very, very worthy and notable. We could even go as far as to say extra special. We see in the 10th canto, which Srila Prabhupada has taught us to approach with the greatest of reverence and respect and patient qualification, that in the 3rd chapter, we will be celebrating Janmashtami next month, the birth of Lord Krishna, and Krishna finally makes his appearance, Swayamrup Bhagavan, in the so-called prison house of Kamsa. Little humorous antidote when Shyamasundar and Malati had to go away to serve a prison sentence for former, let's say, activities in their prior devotional life. They were trying to break the news to Srila Prabhupada that we have to go away for some time. And Prabhupada is asking why, and said, well, we have to go to jail, Srila Prabhupada. Oh, that's all right. Krishna was born in a jail. Anyway, so he gave great encouragement to Mother Devaki and his father, would-be father, Vasudeva. And many times throughout the 10th canto, Krishna himself is directly speaking about himself or speaking that which is appropriate according to the situation which is taking place. So here in this chapter, or this entire section of the 3rd canto, beginning from the epic 25th chapter, the glories of devotional service, Krishna as Kapila Deva is directly speaking about himself. And especially for us, just like Arjuna, when he confessed or revealed or expressed, the proper word, to Krishna, that he is done with friendly talks between them. Of course, Krishna and Arjuna are eternally friends, and their friendship is perfectly transcendental and completely appropriate. Not we miscalculate or we try to be friends with the superior when we actually have absolutely no qualification to be on that equal platform. But for the sake of instructing the world, Arjuna was seemingly put into illusion so that the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, which are essential for all of us, and especially in this Kali Yuga, could be revealed. Similarly, Maharaj Parikshit seemingly became angry at the so-called cold response of the Samaka Rishi, sage yogi, and picked up a dead snake to garland him. It's like if you had come in here with a dead snake and put it around my neck, I think I would have probably gotten pretty upset, right? So, there's much discussion that from Srila Prabhupada there in that section in the 1st canto, that Maharaj Parikshit was right to become angry and disturbed, to not get a proper welcome. He was thirsty, he had asked for a glass of water. Was the sage actually in samadhi and didn't notice him, or was he just feigning trance or samadhi to avoid having to deal with a person in an inferior order? I'm a Brahmin, why do I have to deal with a Kshatriya like that? So, but anyway, the whole thing was arranged so that his inexperienced Brahmin boy would curse him, and the revelation of Śrimad Bhāgavatam, the appearance of Shukadeva Goswami, would be facilitated. So, just as Arjuna, now I am bewildered about my duty, and I am approaching you to explain to me the actual situation. So Mother Devahuti mixed in with the departure of her husband, Kardama Muni. Just like all of us, we enjoy our material youthful life, and then when the youthful life is finished and bodily beauty is waning or waned, our family is, the children leave the nest to begin their own life, completely dependent upon us in their younger days, but then when they become teenagers and young adults, they have their own life and their own idea, and their loyalty and dependence to their parents, in most cases, is completely different. What to do? So unless one has Krishna consciousness, one will be very, very bewildered and depressed upon the appearance of older age and the latter stages of life. So Mother Devahuti, she's revealing herself that now I am sick of the disturbance caused by my senses. They brought me nothing but unhappiness. Please instruct me. So Kapila Dev instructs her in the matter of devotional service, chapter 25, the glories of devotional service. Now here, this chapter is the conclusion of Kapila Dev's instructions. The final chapter of this canto, Activities of Kapila, which is more or less describing the supreme position of perfection that Devahuti achieved, and also the final activities of Kardama Muni and Kapila Dev's final, let's say, ascension back to the spiritual world. So this is the final instruction of Kapila Dev in this section. And we see in this rather lengthy chapter that he is explaining, and at the same time, and then at the conclusion of a particular thought process from the Lord, as we're seeing here today, he gives a concluding and emphatic final assertion, his opinion. This perfect knowledge can be achieved by a person who is already engaged in devotional service with faith, steadiness, and full detachment, and who is always absorbed in thought of the Supreme. He is aloof from material association. Just previously, Krishna was explaining to show the very strong contrast between the process of pure devotional service and any other situation, no matter how exalted that person might be situated in. And Prabhupada reveals, as Kapila Dev explains here, this is back in verse number 12 through 15. My dear mother, someone may worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead with a special interest. But even demigods such as Lord Brahma, great sages such as Sanat Kumar, and great munis such as Marichi have to come back to the material world again at the time of creation. When the interaction of the three modes of material nature begins, Brahma, who is the creator of this cosmic manifestation and who is full of Vedic knowledge, and the great sages who are authors of the spiritual path and the yoga system come back under the influence of the time factor. Just like we were hearing this morning, Prahlad Maharaj is saying that Lord Nrsingadev, you never put your hand on the head of Lord Brahma, even Lakshmi Devi, others, but you have put your hand on my head. I can't, this is an inconceivable causeless mercy. And Prabhupada is describing that actually everyone is eligible to receive the mercy of the Lord. And he gives the qualification, Krishna's concluding thought to the chapter 14 of the Bhagavad Gita, the modes of material nature. One who transcends these modes by performance of devotional service, he is always liberated. And that's what's being described here. He is aloof from material association. At the time of creation, they come back in exactly the same forms and positions they had had previously. there's the story that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives of the wedding party that rode all night in the boat, and they woke up in the same place. Two things. One, they didn't take out the anchor, and also they were sleeping while they thought the so-called progress of the journey was taking place. So that's what Prabhupada says here. The special significance of their coming back may be noted. Brahma and the great rishis and the great master of yoga, Shiva, are not ordinary living entities. They are very powerful and have all the perfections of mystic yoga, but still they have an inclination to try to become one with the Supreme. And therefore they have to come back. Yenye Ravindaksha Vamuktimaninas, in the chapter 2, Prayers of the Demigods for Lord Krishna in the womb of the 10th canto. Imagine superiority. They have to come back. Or, because, as Prabhupada uses the term, they have no locus standi in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. They cannot stand on the platform of not just inactivity, as in the case of the mergers into those who wish to merge into the Brahman effulgence, cease all activities, but because they don't get the satisfaction that the senses need in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada was speaking at the University of Buffalo in the accredited course on Vedic wisdom and history, I think it was called, by Rupanuga Prabhu. It made many very wonderful devotees there. So this account is given by Krishna Bhamani Devi Dasi, who joined along with Bhagavan Prabhu. They were husband and wife, or married by Srila Prabhupada. So there was one young man, and he was asking a very challenging question to Srila Prabhupada. Actually, Prahladananda Maharaj tells this story also, but this is Krishna Bhamani's account. Swami, are you happy? And Prabhupada hesitated. He didn't answer right away. And Prabhupada said, if I give you my answer, will you believe me? Now, it's not just Srila Prabhupada's, what he says, the words he chooses, or, the intelligence or logic of Srila Prabhupada, but just the power and weight of his position. He is the full representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the full disciplic succession, and all pure devotees of the spiritual world, descending to this realm as the chosen representative. So the boy kind of folded under that unseen or undetectable by material senses weight and simply said, yes, I'll accept your answer. Then Prabhupada immediately just smiled and shook his head back and forth like this and said, yes, I am happy. And Krishna Bhamani, she was like, I was just like overwhelmed. Like, wow. She felt what that happiness, situated thus, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. This is indeed freedom from all material contact. Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, Pratipadam Purnat Mitas Vardhanam. Lord Chaitanya has come with his Sankirtan movement to give everyone the nectar for which we were always anxious. So those who have that hidden agenda or inclination to become one with the Lord, it is impossible for them to experience this transcendental happiness. Srila Prabhupada has taught us that, yes, Jadharani, Shamarani, she tells the story that she, I don't know if it was her painting, but Prabhupada was looking at the paintings, and there was a picture of the gopis serving Srimati Radharani. And Prabhupada said, yes, this is our position, to become servant of the servant of the servants of the Lord. And he went on to say that the further down the line you go, the sweeter that service becomes. In the material world, everyone wants to be the master. Srila Prabhupada was in Dainipan and was negotiating the price for his books. And they had a very, anyone who's been to Japan, they say there's a very strict hierarchy in all fields of life, especially in business life. So the young man who was kind of like the flunky or servant, at the very end, Prabhupada asked him, what is your aspiration? What is your goal in life? I'm serious, Prabhupada, but at the meeting of this big round wooden table, everyone had put their card. You know, I'm assistant director, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that, you know, like however many cards, like a dozen cards. So when Prabhupada asked him that question, he picked up all the cards. The president would be on top, vice president next, this, that, and then he very humbly and methodically, he placed his card on the bottom, where it should be, where he is, on the bottom. And then he very dramatically took his card out from the bottom and slapped it on top. That was his aspiration. Prabhupada says in one place that a pure devotee is characterized as one who has no aspiration to achieve a higher position in material life, completely devoid. And that's what Krishna is saying here. Such a person is detached, aloof from material association. In the Śrimad Bhāgavatam, it is accepted that as long as one thinks he is equal with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is not completely purified or knowledgeable. In spite of even going up to the first Purusha avatar, Mahavishnu, after the dissolution of this material creation, such personalities again fall down or come back to the material creation. So I've been practicing devotional service. I've been for so many years, but I am in the same position, seemingly. That is why the mercy of the pure devotees, the mercy of the spiritual master is absolutely essential, because he can help us to break the bondage, which is based on our impurified desires that keeps us in the same position. Later, towards the end of this chapter, Kapila Deva is giving an admonishment. This instruction is not meant for the envious, for the agnostics, or for persons who are unclean in their behavior, nor is it for hypocrites, or for persons who are proud of material possessions. It is not to be instructed to persons who are too greedy and too attached to family life, nor to persons who are non-devotees and who are envious of the devotees and of the personality of Godhead. Persons who are always planning to do harm to other living entities are not eligible to understand Krishna consciousness. The demoniac, lost in themselves, are engaged in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. Also, there are so-called disciples who become submissive to a spiritual master, most artificially with an ulterior motive. They also cannot understand what Krishna consciousness or devotional service is. Persons who, due to being initiated by another sect or religious faith, do not find devotional service as the common platform for approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead also cannot understand Krishna consciousness. Sometimes we see people, they join the Association of Devotees, and they were associated with some other type of quasi kind of popular, deviant kind of so-called Eastern idea, and they associate with the devotees for some time, perhaps way too familiarly than they're qualified to do. If someone actually comes into association with devotees, quote unquote, from outside, their sincerity will be understood, that they come to the position of being submissive and humble and showing a very perceivable degree of awe and reverence in devotee association. Not like, hey man, how you doing? What's going on there, pal? Give me 5, like that. And because association with devotees coming from material life will necessitate one to come to the realization, just like Lord Chaitanya teaches, somehow or other I have fallen into this material ocean of repeated birth and death. Kindly pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Our position in material life is extremely precarious and extremely dangerous. So a sincere person will come to realize that and understand that the association of devotees and their instruction is their supreme and only shelter. So the, let's say, responsibility or ever-present pressure to come to that position after some time will be too much for such persons. We have experienced that some students come to us, but because of being biased in some particular type of faith, they leave our camp and become lost in the wilderness. Hey, you remember such and such? Yeah. Where is he? Oh, I don't know. We haven't heard from him in years. Actually, Krishna consciousness is not a sectarian religious faith. It is a teaching process for understanding the Supreme Lord and our relationship with him. Anyone can join this movement without prejudice, but unfortunately, there are persons who feel differently. It is better, therefore, not to instruct the science of Krishna consciousness to such persons. Generally, materialistic persons are after some name, fame, and material gain. Generally. We shouldn't be surprised. So, how to balance all this out should not be instructed. The ignorant perform their materialistic activities and become attached. Therefore, the wise man should prosecute his own spiritual activities silently, not disturbing them, and thereby waste valuable time. Sometimes we see it. Harinam, one of our valiant and merciful book distributors or canvassers, gets like waylaid by, like somebody like Quicksand Stan or Quicksand Sally, and then the other devotee go, we have a Prabhupada meeting that we have to go to right now, They kind of yank him out. The other guy can plop down in the quicksand, and we rescue the devotee, pull him out. We don't want our time to be wasted. And someone coming new, we know the whole cast of characters said, this guy's been a Mayavadi for the last 100 years, don't waste your time. Okay, we identify, who's who. Yet, Prabhupada writes in that purport in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the devotees of the Lord are more kind than the Lord, therefore they know the inner purpose, the purpose of the Lord, and therefore they take all types of risks in approaching ignorant men to engage them in the acts of Krishna consciousness, which are absolutely necessary for the human beings. Kapila Dev is explaining, yes, it's in this, yes. This instruction should be imparted by the spiritual master to persons who have taken the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be more dear than anything. We come to take the darshan of Shri Shri Radha Govinda, and that darshan is called as the Priya Darshan, the most dear and most beautiful thing. Actually, it's initiated by Giriraj Swami. She lived to be 102 years old. Rose, I can't remember her last name. They had a daughter named Leela Shakti who joined in the LA temple in the 70s, became Prabhupada's disciple. And she would come with her husband, and she even brought her parents, who at the time must have been in their 70s or even older, like Prabhupada's age. And her father, who had been a good man all his life, he came and saw the deities of temple room, Shri Shri Rukmini Dwarkadish, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Gaura Nitai. And he became so emotional, he said, "This is the most beautiful sight I've ever seen in my entire life." Earlier in this Kapila Dev instruction, describing the importance of worshiping the deity, Prabhupada said that the deity should be dressed in such an appropriate manner. The temple in general should be infused with such a spiritual atmosphere, a transcendental atmosphere, that anyone entering in will be affected by the emotion of devotional service. More dear than anything, we're not envious of anyone, we're perfectly cleansed and have developed detachment from that which is outside the purview of Krishna consciousness. A devotee should always be very kind to the general public in instructing Krishna consciousness. What does Krishna say? One who teaches this message to the Bhagavad Gita to the devotees. Does that mean we should just stay here every day from 1 to 7 o'clock and just have Bhagavad Gita class amongst ourselves? It means Krishna's saying that there are devotees out there. Krishna knows they're devotees more than we know that they're devotees, because they're his devotees. They're not our devotees, they're Krishna's devotees, and they're lost. Devotees of the Lord are more kind than the Lord because they know the inner purpose of the Lord. Therefore, they take all types of risks in approaching ignorant men to engage them in the acts of Krishna consciousness, which are absolutely necessary for the human being. Always kind to the general public, because that is in instructing Krishna consciousness, because that is the only solution to getting out of the clutches of Maya. That is really humanitarian work, and check this out. For it is the way to show mercy to other people who need it very badly. That's one good reason to stay in New York City, because it's quite obvious.
That was the third chapter you were just reading from?
This is the end of the chapter. I'm reading from verse 40.
Oh, Bhāgavatam.
We can try to find an idyllic situation, live in the country in a kind of pastoral, bucolic kind of, so wonderful. Repeated birth, death, disease, and old age is everywhere. There is no fulfillment of desires anywhere save and except fulfilling the desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by engaging in the service of his representative, the spiritual master. And because samsaradava nalalita loka, this blazing fire of material existence is burning everywhere, the spiritual master has enlisted a volunteer fire department. And we all have to cooperate to make a non-stop 24-hour-a-day bucket brigade to pour the water of mercy. Just like a cloud receives water from the ocean, the spiritual master extinguishes the blazing fire of material existence by he's in contact with the unlimited mercy of the Supreme Lord, the rain of mercy falling down. Prabhupada said, the temples are not places for eating and sleeping, but a place where an army of devotees can issue forth and drop and distribute books, Prabhupada says in one place. Just like during wartime, the bombs were raining from the sky like anything. And coming Monday is the lunar anniversary of the 58th anniversary of the incorporation of ISKCON. The papers were signed by, two drifters, Dan and Raphael, whose business was to go out during the day and find cigarette butts in the cracks of the sidewalk. People who had no commitment to the Swami except some good sentiment. Incorporation of ISKCON. And Sasarup Maharaj in his epic writing of this Planting the Seed chapter in the book Planting the Seed, it wasn't just a storefront, a former curiosity shop. It was now a transcendental haven dedicated to the personality of Godhead. It was a place where an army of devotees could issue forth and chant the names of God in all the cities of the world. Bare and impoverished. It was Srila Prabhupada's transcendental movement starting here. Such persons take the religious principles as a social decoration. They admit themselves into some cultural institution for the sake of name only, especially in this age. Such persons also cannot understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Even if one is not greedy for material possessions, but too attached to family life, he also cannot understand Krishna consciousness. When a person is not contaminated by the above-mentioned faults, yet at the ultimate issue is not interested in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or if he is a non-devotee, he also cannot understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Instruction should be given to the faithful devotee who is respectful to the spiritual master, non-envious, friendly to all kinds of living entities, and eager to render service with faith and sincerity. So Srila Prabhupada is so expert, and he learned this very well from his beloved spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. The highest act of compassion is to organize that everyone be engaged in distributing and preaching Krishna consciousness. Not only will this save us, but it will put us in the most exalted position. Not even Lord Brahma, Sanat Kumar, the rishis, we will be in a position even higher than them by the grace of Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada has encouraged us, he's even instructed us, you go back home, back to Godhead in one lifetime. So as Srila Prabhupada is the bona fide spiritual master, supremely bona fide, we should aspire to be the bona fide disciple. Who is the bona fide spiritual master? But equally, if not more important of a question, who is the bona fide disciple? Etad Vaishwaraya Bhaktya Yoga Basyena Nityasa Samahitatma Nishango Viraktya Paripasyate This perfect knowledge can be achieved by a person who is already engaged in devotional service with faith, steadiness, and full detachment, and who is always absorbed in thought of the Supreme. He is aloof from material association. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Any questions or comments? You want to speak it? Okay. All right, speaking into that, but speak loud so I and everyone can hear.
1 second, I had to find my question. I wrote it down. Can't remember which text I wrote it. So you're saying that if outsider devotees come, or outsider people come into the association of devotees, that the show of their sincerity will be that they're like humble and submissive, and that they have like a tint of awe and reverence in their attitude, and they're not just like, "Yo, how's it going, buddy?" And like, it's like, but for us on our side, how should we deal with them? Because we also want people to, I mean, not to think that we're devotees, but getting people to come and associate with devotees, we want to be friendly to them, and we want to kind of treat them. If we suddenly put ourselves, yes, I am the devotee, and you're now in my...
Not that extreme. It's not like, okay, on the first, second, third, or fifth meeting, like, okay, I want you to...
You forgot to wash my feet.
No.
Right.
It's common sense. There's... What was it like when we were hearing the philosophy for the first time, or hearing devotees speak? Yes, I will make him my disciple. I have marked him. He likes to hear. So if someone is challenging, someone is interrupting, I think less, but I remember when we first started the Lotus Room program, people coming from the street and just sort of, just want to argue and just grind it down and like not accept, proper etiquette, and just kind of like disturb the whole situation. We don't want such persons around. But then again, if someone, Prabhupada said that this Krishna consciousness movement is giving everyone a chance to engage in devotional service or have Krishna consciousness, at least for some time. So, just like in the olden days, like on the prairie or on the frontier, the one-room schoolhouse, they have one in Stuyvesant Falls, like a 200-year-old building. So one teacher would instruct grades 1 through 12, maybe even kindergarten also. So now it's all separate, Imagine having like first graders with senior high school. How could you do that, So the teacher, the devotee, is very expert to simultaneously relate with everyone. Just like there was one exalted personality, Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, and he sort of mysteriously, at least from the already established devotees' perspective, appeared in 1975, and many of these devotees have been well established for 8, 9, 10 years. And Prabhupada was going to give first, second, and sannyas, boom, all at the same time. And actually that was like Prabhupada's first words to Gaura Govinda Maharaj. Have you accepted sannyas? No, I will give you. And so Prabhupada, he's a new man. He said, you are all new men. He is. So it takes one to know one. I hope that's satisfactory in the limited time to answer the question. But it's not like anything else.
No, that's it.
Thank you all very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Haribol.